You think dinner in American homes meant just meat and potatoes? Think again. These working-class kitchens across factory towns and suburban developments served up some of the most resourceful, aluminum-wrapped, and surprisingly strategic meals in American history.
It'll be a surprise if you have any left, but if you do, good for lamb. Leftover lamb stew is good reheated or as a new dish in disguise.
They're real dinners made by real families in avocado green kitchens with Formica countertops and wall-mounted can openers from 1960 through 1979. Let's dig into 25 forgotten dinners you never knew were actually keeping families fed when mothers worked full days and still got hot food on tables by 6 o'clock sharp. Swanson launched aluminum TV dinner trays in 1954, but by 1965, Salisbury steak outsold every other frozen meal in America. Your mother stacked 6 in the chest freezer for 49 cents each, backup for nights when her shift at the typing pool ran late or PTA meetings went long. Each compartmentalized tray held an oval beef patty in mushroom gravy, whipped potatoes, and buttered corn that never touched each other. She slid it into a 425-degree oven for 25 minutes while changing out of her work clothes. The kitchen filled with processed beef smell and onion powder while gravy bubbled at aluminum edges. Every secretary in 1968 kept the emergency dinner formula in her head: Campbell's cream of chicken soup, jar of pimentos, frozen peas, leftover Sunday chicken. Your aunt could execute chicken a la king in under 30 minutes when unexpected company showed up. She diced the roast chicken, dumped everything into one saucepan with cooking sherry, and served it over toast points or Pepperidge Farm puff pastry shells while apologizing it was just chicken a la king. The cream sauce thickened on medium heat, turned ivory with red pimento flecks and bright peas. It looked restaurant fancy, cost under $2 for 4 people, but more importantly, proved she could handle surprise dinner guests without advance warning. That ability mattered in 1968. It separated competent housewives from incompetent ones. Chicken a la king vanished when cream sauces became dietary enemies, and anything white became embarrassing. Swiss steak required equipment your grandmother inherited: a textured meat mallet, a Dutch oven, and 3 Sunday afternoon hours she'd never recover. She bought round steak Saturday for $1.29 per pound and spent 20 minutes pounding flour into meat fibers until her forearm burned. Every woman in 1965 understood this technique wasn't optional. Cheap cuts didn't tenderize themselves through wishful thinking. She browned it in Crisco, added canned tomatoes with onions and peppers and celery, then abandoned the Dutch oven in a 325-degree oven for 2.5 hours. The house heated up. Tomatoes slow-cooked into thick gravy. Meat fell apart under fork pressure. It fed 6 for under $4 and proved she understood how to make tough meat edible through patient violence. Swiss steak disappeared when women entered full-time workforce, and nobody had Sunday afternoons for pounding meat. Tuesday night in 1970 meant tuna noodle casserole from Long Island to Orange County. Your mother boiled egg noodles, drained 2 Star-Kissed cans, stirred in Campbell's cream of mushroom soup and frozen peas, crushed Lay's potato chips on top, and baked it 30 minutes at 350 degrees. Dinner cost $2.15 for 5 people while she supervised homework. The chips turned golden. Casserole bubbled at Corningware edges, and the kitchen smelled like condensed soup and canned tuna, the precise smell of 1970s survival. It wasn't restaurant quality. It was strategic thinking. 1 pot, 1 soup can, 1 chip bag, and Tuesday was managed without crisis. The ham steak dinner was 1960s geometry, 1 perfect Dole pineapple circle centered on a rectangular pre-cooked ham slab with a maraschino cherry filling the whole. Your mother bought ham for 89 cents and canned pineapple for 35, placed them in a cast-iron skillet with syrup, and 10 minutes later owned a magazine-ready dinner for under $2. The pineapple caramelized in its own sugar, ham browned at edges, and that artificial cherry sweetness signaled someone cared enough to make it look intentional. It was the fastest, company-worthy meal a working mother could execute, and every church cookbook in 1965 printed a version because every woman needed weapons against judgment. Ham steak with pineapple disappeared when the Hawaiian pizza debate killed all pineapple and meat combinations, and sweet savory became culturally unacceptable. These weren't just dinners. They were defense systems built by women managing impossible expectations. Work 8 hours, run a household, raise children, and still produce hot meals by 6 o'clock every single night. Every aluminum tray, every condensed soup can, every 30-minute formula represented a small victory against exhaustion and tight budgets.
It's easy if you know how, and it's just as good as it looks. Certainly is fun to work in a modern kitchen.
The generation that created these systems never called it revolutionary. They just called it Tuesday. Swanson's frozen beef stroganoff launched in 1967, promising Russian sophistication for 59 cents in an aluminum tray. Your mother bought 4 at once: beef strips in sour cream gravy, egg noodles, green beans, all requiring 35 minutes at 400 degrees. The packaging showed elegant china, but everyone ate straight from the tray on TV tables watching Bonanza. The sour cream gravy was tangy and thick. Beef was chewier than restaurant quality, but recognizable as actual meat, and the whole experience felt cosmopolitan. Your family was eating Russian cuisine for $2.36 total, and nobody questioned whether it resembled actual Russian food because nobody had ever met a Russian person. Every post-Thanksgiving Friday in 1972, leftover turkey became tetrazzini through condensed mushroom soup, boiled spaghetti, frozen peas, and breadcrumbs. Your mother mixed everything in a casserole, topped it with Parmesan, baked it 40 minutes at 375 degrees. One Thanksgiving turkey stretched into 3 additional meals at virtually no cost beyond the original bird purchase. The breadcrumbs formed golden crust, sauce bubbled up casserole sides, pasta absorbed all that creamy mushroom richness. Every military family and budget household in 1965 knew chipped beef on toast, universally called SOS by anyone who'd served overseas. Your mother bought Armour dried beef in a glass jar for 79 cents, made white sauce with butter and flour and milk, tore the beef into strips, poured it over toasted Wonder bread. 15 minutes start to finish. 95 cents, feeding 4 people. The beef rehydrated in cream sauce, turning salty and chewy. Toast soaked up gravy until it was more liquid than bread, and the whole plate tasted like mess halls and military necessity. Every father who'd survived World War II or Korea ate this without complaint, because he'd eaten far worse in foxholes and transport ships. Chipped beef on toast disappeared when the generation that fought wars died off, and sodium became public health enemy number 1. The dish that once meant affordable protein and shared military memory became unappetizing, something people made crude jokes about but never actually cooked for their own families or admitted enjoying. Every Thursday in 1968, liver and onions appeared on dinner tables because pediatricians said growing children needed iron and liver cost 39 cents per pound. Your mother soaked it in milk 1 hour to cut bitterness, dredged it in seasoned flour, fried it 3 minutes per side in bacon grease with thick yellow onion slices that caramelized in the drippings. The kitchen smelled divided families. Adults inhaled deeply, recognizing nutrition. Children held their noses and negotiated. The liver stayed pink in the center if she timed it correctly, turned to rubber if she didn't. Served with mashed potatoes soaking up pan gravy, The meal delivered a full week's iron requirement for $1.65, with absolutely zero negotiation about whether you'd eat it or go hungry. Those were the only options. Liver and onions disappeared when children's preferences started dictating family menus, and organ meats became disgusting instead of economical. The nutritional powerhouse that appeared weekly became something only grandparents ate, a reminder of eras when you consumed what was served or you went to bed hungry. Chicken Divan owned every 1970s church potluck and bridge club luncheon. Your aunt layered cooked broccoli and sliced chicken breast in a buttered casserole, mixed Campbell's cream of chicken soup with mayonnaise and curry powder, poured it over everything, topped it with cheddar and breadcrumbs. 35 minutes at 350 degrees produced an elegant dish, serving 8 for $3.25. The curry powder made it exotic, the broccoli made it healthy, the breadcrumb cheese crust made it sophisticated enough for company. The name alone, Divan, sounded French and mysterious, even though nobody knew its actual meaning or cared to investigate. Chicken Divan vanished when mayonnaise-based casseroles became socially unacceptable, and curry powder in American cooking became appropriation concerns. The dish that once proved a hostess was adventurous and culturally aware became embarrassing, something women quietly removed from their recipe boxes when younger guests weren't watching them cook. By the mid-1970s, these meals weren't just about feeding families. They were about proving you could manage a household, hold down employment, and still serve something that looked deliberate rather than desperate. Every casserole dish, every aluminum tray, every 30-minute formula was domestic engineering that nobody called revolutionary, but absolutely was. Women were navigating complete cultural transformation while still carrying full responsibility for feeding everyone. La Choi's frozen pepper steak promised Chinese restaurant taste for 69 cents in 1970. Your mother bought 3 trays simultaneously: beef strips, green peppers, onions, brown sauce over white rice, all heated 40 minutes at 375 degrees. The soy sauce smell filled suburban kitchens, and suddenly your family was eating Chinese food without leaving the driveway or interacting with actual Chinese people. The peppers stayed crisp tender, beef was recognizable as meat, brown sauce was salty sweet in ways every American in 1970 believed was authentically Asian. It cost $2.07 for 3 people and felt adventurous, like your family possessed enough sophistication to appreciate international cuisine. Pepper steak dinners disappeared when actual Chinese restaurants opened in every strip mall, and people realized La Choi was an insulting approximation. The meal that once represented culinary adventure became evidence of American ignorance, a time when families genuinely believed frozen TV dinners qualified as ethnic dining, and nobody had information suggesting otherwise. Your grandmother's porcupine meatballs earned their name from uncooked rice grains sticking out like quills after simmering. She mixed ground beef, uncooked white rice, chopped onion, egg, salt, and pepper, rolled them into spheres, simmered them in tomato sauce 45 minutes. The rice cooked inside the meatballs, absorbed meat juices, expanded until individual grains poked through the surface like tiny spikes. The tomato sauce thickened while meatballs swelled, and each one became a complete meal, protein and starch in one bite. It fed 6 people for $2.15 in one pot, and the whimsical name made children willing to try them instead of complaining about dinner. Porcupine meatballs vanished when Instagram food photography demanded visual perfection, and rice protruding from meatballs looked like cooking accidents rather than intentional design. The dish that once charmed families with clever naming became visually unappealing, something that didn't photograph well, and therefore stopped existing in a culture that photographs everything before eating it. Every Tuesday in 1966, 6 green bell peppers at 12 cents each became complete dinners. Your mother cut off the tops, scooped out seeds, parboiled them 5 minutes, stuffed them with ground beef browned with onions, cooked white rice, tomato sauce, Italian seasoning. They stood upright in a baking dish with half-inch water and baked 45 minutes at 375 degrees. The peppers softened but maintained structural integrity. Filling bubbled inside, and each one was a self-contained meal costing 48 cents. You ate them with knife and fork, cutting through the pepper wall to reach savory filling that had absorbed all the vegetable's natural sweetness during baking. Stuffed peppers disappeared when individual plated meals became fussy, and ground beef became feared rather than relied upon. The recipe that once transformed 6 vegetables into 6 distinct servings became labor-intensive, something only grandmothers had patience to construct while everyone else ordered pizza delivery and called it solving dinner. The 1970s, meatloaf was a scientific formula: 2 pounds ground beef, 1 pound ground pork, breadcrumbs soaked in milk, 2 eggs, chopped onions, ketchup, 1 Lipton onion soup packet. Your mother formed it into a loaf shape, topped it with more ketchup, baked it 90 minutes at 350 degrees. Brown gravy came from pan drippings mixed with flour and beef broth scraped from the baking dish. The meatloaf developed caramelized crust, the center stayed moist from milk-soaked breadcrumbs, and the onion soup mix added depth that nobody called umami in 1975, because that word didn't exist in American kitchens yet. Swanson's chicken pot pie launched in 1951, but the aluminum tray version became weeknight necessity by 1970. Your mother paid 39 cents per pie: chicken chunks, peas, carrots, potatoes in cream sauce under crimped pastry crust. 45 minutes at 400 degrees, and the house smelled like Thanksgiving compressed into a disposable tin. The crust turned golden brown, filling bubbled through decorative steam vents, and you ate it directly from aluminum using a spoon, burning your tongue on molten hot gravy every single time without learning from previous experiences. It cost $1.56 for 4 pies, and every child considered it a legitimate treat rather than convenience food or admission of cooking failure. Chicken pot pie dinners disappeared when microwave meals replaced oven-baked convenience, and trans fats became toxic substances rather than neutral ingredients. The meal that once meant modern efficiency became a symbol of 1970s processed food excess, something people claim never tasted good, even though they'd consumed hundreds throughout childhood. These frozen dinners and one-pot casseroles weren't shortcuts. They were innovations born from necessity. Women in the 1960s and 70s were navigating complete cultural upheaval, entering the workforce in unprecedented numbers while still shouldering full responsibility for feeding families every single night. Every aluminum tray represented a small rebellion against impossible standards. Every condensed soup can was a tool for survival. Nobody called it feminism. They called it getting dinner on the table. In 1968, Spam wasn't a punchline. It was a 49-cent protein solution sitting on grocery shelves. Your mother sliced 1 can into 1/4-inch slabs, layered them with thinly sliced potatoes in a buttered casserole dish. She made white sauce with butter, flour, milk, salt, pepper, poured it over everything, baked it 60 minutes, covered, then 15 minutes, uncovered at 375 degrees. The Spam released its salty gelatin into the potatoes, edges crisped up, sauce thickened to gravy consistency. It fed 6 people for $1.85 in one dish, and Hormel printed the recipe directly on the can label because they understood working mothers needed reliable formulas more than culinary creativity. Spam and scalloped potatoes vanished when Spam became comedy material, and potatoes became carbs instead of affordable sustenance. The dish that demonstrated Depression-era resourcefulness, successfully translated to modern times, became embarrassing. Swanson's Creole beef dinner promised Louisiana flavor for 65 cents in 1972. The aluminum tray held seasoned ground beef with tomatoes, peppers, onions over white rice, plus corn in its isolated compartment. Your mother heated it 35 minutes at 400 degrees, and suddenly suburban families were eating Creole cooking, manufactured in a Minnesota factory by people who'd never visited Louisiana. The beef mixture was mildly spicy, paprika and black pepper, that 1970s packaging confidently labeled Creole seasoning. The rice absorbed red sauce, corn stayed bright yellow in its separated section. It felt exotic, regional, sophisticated, for $2.60 feeding 4 people. Creole beef dinners disappeared when people actually visited New Orleans and realized TV dinners bore zero resemblance to actual Creole cuisine. The meal that once represented regional American cooking became an insult. Banquet's frozen chicken cacciatore promised Italian sophistication for 59 cents in 1971. The compartmented tray held chicken pieces in tomato sauce with mushrooms and peppers, pasta, green beans, 40 minutes at 375 degrees, and your family was eating Italian-American cuisine without understanding there was any distinction between those terms or caring to investigate further. The tomato sauce was sweet-tangy. Chicken fell off the bone perhaps too easily. Mushrooms had rubber texture. Pasta was overcooked by Italian standards, but absolutely perfect for 1971 American expectations. It cost $2.36 for 4 dinners and made everyone feel continental and culturally sophisticated. Chicken cacciatore frozen dinners vanished when bone-in chicken pieces became inconvenient and microwave technology replaced oven heating entirely. The dish that once proved your family appreciated Italian culture became evidence of processed food dependence. Swanson's veal parmigiana was their premium frozen dinner, 79 cents instead of the standard 49 in 1969. The aluminum tray held breaded veal cutlet under tomato sauce and mozzarella cheese, spaghetti with additional sauce, green beans in their compartment. Your mother paid extra because veal signified sophistication, even frozen and reheated from aluminum. The cheese browned on top, sauce bubbled enthusiastically, spaghetti steamed underneath, and the entire meal smelled like pizzeria ambition compressed into a disposable tray. The veal was tender, or possibly pork. Nobody investigated too thoroughly. The breading transitioned from crispy to soggy, and it cost $3.16 for 4 dinners, expensive compared to other frozen options, but still cheaper than restaurant dining. Swanson's beef burgundy was their gourmet line, 89 cents for French-inspired cuisine in 1968, when standard TV dinners cost 49 cents. The aluminum tray contained beef chunks in wine sauce with mushrooms, rice pilaf in its separate compartment, and green beans with exactly 3 sliced almonds carefully labeled amandine on the packaging. Your mother paid premium pricing because burgundy meant elegance and sophistication, even when sourced from a grocery store freezer case next to fish sticks. The wine sauce was dark brown, actually cooking wine mixed with food coloring and beef broth rather than actual burgundy wine from France. The mushrooms were soft from the freezing and reheating process. The rice was yellow with mysterious herb flecks that nobody could identify. And those 3 specific almonds on the green beans convinced everyone this qualified as authentic French cooking worthy of special occasions. It cost $3.56 for 4 dinners, the most expensive frozen option in the entire grocery store, more than twice the price of regular TV dinners. Families bought it for birthdays or when company came over unexpectedly. Beef Burgundy TV dinners vanished when gourmet frozen food became an oxymoron that everyone recognized, and microwave meals eliminated the oven dinner market completely in the 1980s. The dish that once proved your family possessed refined taste and cultural sophistication became a punchline, undeniable evidence that 1960s Americans would believe anything with a French name represented sophisticated European cuisine, regardless of actual origin, quality, or resemblance to real French food. The irony that nobody discussed openly was that these convenience foods often demanded more actual skill than modern cooking requires, timing oven temperatures precisely, knowing exactly when to cover versus uncover casseroles, stretching limited ingredients without sacrificing flavor or nutritional value. Every Monday in 1965, ham and lima beans appeared on tables across the South and industrial Midwest like clockwork, the start of the weekly meal rotation. Your grandmother bought 1 ham hock for 39 cents at the butcher counter on Saturday morning, soaked dried lima beans overnight in cold water in a large bowl on the kitchen counter, and simmered them together 3 full hours on Monday with chopped onions, bay leaves, and black pepper in her heavy pot. The ham fell off the bone into tender shreds that distributed throughout the beans. The beans turned creamy without losing structural integrity or turning to mush, and the pot liquor thickened with released starch until it was almost gravy consistency. The entire pot fed 8 people for $1.15 total, possibly the cheapest complete meal available in 1965 that still provided adequate nutrition. The smell filled the house all afternoon, smoky ham, earthy beans, sweet onions slowly breaking down. It was depression cooking that survived into the space age because it functioned perfectly. Cheap protein from the ham hock, filling starch from the beans, minimal waste, since even the cooking liquid was consumed, maximum efficiency with almost no preparation required beyond soaking and simmering. Ham and lima beans disappeared when soul food became regionalized rather than universal, and lima beans became America's most hated vegetable through successful childhood resistance campaigns that mothers eventually stopped fighting. La Choi's frozen chicken chow mein promised Chinese takeout for 55 cents in 1971, sitting in the freezer case next to the Salisbury steaks and pot pies. The compartmented tray held chicken pieces, celery slices, bean sprouts, water chestnuts in brown sauce, white rice in its separate section, and exactly 3 crunchy noodles for authentic garnish that the packaging claimed made it restaurant quality. 35 minutes at 375 degrees, and your suburban family was eating Oriental cuisine without leaving the house, visiting Chinatown, or interacting with actual Asian people who might contradict the authenticity claims. The vegetables stayed crisp through the heating process. Chicken was recognizable white meat chunks rather than mystery meat. Sauce was glossy with cornstarch thickening that coated everything, and you crumbled those 3 precious noodles on top for textural contrast. The whole meal tasted salty sweet with unexpected crunch from water chestnuts that felt exotic and foreign, and it cost $2.20 for 4 complete dinners. Chicken chow mein TV dinners vanished when actual Chinese restaurants opened in every strip mall location, and people learned what real chow mein tasted like through direct comparison and cultural education. The meal that once represented exotic international dining became an embarrassment, undeniable proof that 1970s suburban America possessed zero understanding of what Chinese food actually was, how to prepare it authentically, or why frozen approximations were insulting to actual Chinese culinary traditions. Your Polish grandmother made stuffed cabbage rolls every other Sunday, an all-day commitment requiring dedication and patience nobody under 60 seemed to possess anymore. She bought one cabbage head for 29 cents at the produce stand on Saturday morning, boiled it whole in her largest pot until the leaves separated one by one without tearing, made filling from ground beef, cooked white rice, chopped onions, and tomato sauce, mixed in a yellow mixing bowl. Each leaf got carefully rolled around a golf ball-sized portion of filling, secured with a toothpick so it wouldn't unravel during cooking, packed tightly into her heavy Dutch oven in neat rows, covered with additional tomato sauce, and simmered 2 full hours on low heat while she sat in the kitchen monitoring it. The cabbage turned translucent and naturally sweet from the long cooking, the filling stayed moist and flavorful from the sauce penetration, and the sauce reduced to thick gravy that coated every roll. Each roll was a nutritionally complete meal, vegetable wrapper providing fiber, protein filling from the beef, grain component from the rice, feeding 8 people for $2.65 total. It required 3 hours of continuous labor and proved both ethnic heritage pride and personal dedication to family feeding. Stuffed cabbage rolls disappeared when multi-hour recipes became impractical for working people, and cabbage became poverty food instead of versatile vegetable. The dish that once demonstrated a woman's cultural heritage and commitment became something only grandmothers made for major holidays, too labor-intensive for anyone maintaining full-time employment. Swanson's turkey and gravy dinner was Thanksgiving compressed into a 39-cent aluminum tray that sat in your freezer like holiday insurance. Sliced white turkey under brown gravy, cornbread stuffing, mashed potatoes, sweet peas, all heated 35 minutes at 400 degrees while your mother changed out of her work uniform. Your mother bought 6 simultaneously after Thanksgiving when they went on promotional sale at the grocery store, and suddenly you could experience holiday food in March or July without cultural context or family gatherings required. The turkey slices were uniform rectangles suggesting mechanical slicing at a factory somewhere in the Midwest. Gravy was salty and appropriately thick like real holiday gravy. Stuffing contained recognizable sage seasoning but lacked any texture variation or moisture differences. Potatoes were whipped completely smooth without a single lump. The aluminum compartments kept everything separated until you mixed it all together with your fork anyway. It was Thanksgiving adjacent for $1.56, feeding 4 people, extending holiday feelings into ordinary Tuesday nights without special occasion requirements or hours of cooking labor. That mattered to families who couldn't afford big celebrations multiple times per year, but still wanted those comfort food associations. Turkey and gravy frozen dinners vanished when microwaves replaced ovens, and Thanksgiving became sacred, not something you casually consumed from aluminum in random months without ceremony. The meal that once extended holiday joy year-round became depressing, evidence your family couldn't afford real celebrations or didn't care enough to cook them properly with actual effort and planning. The minute steak dinner was 1970s speed cooking at maximum efficiency. Your mother bought cube steaks, mechanically tenderized round steak, for $1.19 per pound at the grocery store meat counter, seasoned them with nothing but salt and pepper from the shakers next to the avocado green stove, and fried them exactly 1 minute per side in her cast-iron skillet that weighed more than a bowling ball. Instant mashed potatoes came from Hungry Jack flakes mixed with boiling water, milk, and butter in 3 minutes flat. Brown gravy was a packet whisked with water in a small saucepan. No chopping, no peeling, no preparation beyond opening packages and turning on burners. The steaks displayed distinctive cube-shaped dimples from the mechanical tenderizing machine at the butcher. The potatoes were fluffy and perfectly uniform, without a single lump, and the gravy was thick enough to coat everything without running off the plate. The whole kitchen smelled like diner cooking. Fried beef, butter, and that distinctive packet gravy aroma that meant dinner was 12 minutes away from refrigerator to table. It was pure efficiency feeding 4 people for $2.85 in 12 minutes total. That speed mattered when mothers were managing full-time jobs, homework supervision, and household management simultaneously. Minute steak with mashed potatoes disappeared when real cooking became a status symbol and instant potatoes became shameful rather than practical. The meal that once proved a mother's efficiency and time management skills became evidence of corner cutting and lack of care, something people vehemently deny making even though it appeared on tables 5 million times every single week across America for 2 decades straight.